podcast Meetup. And without any further ado, I know it's probably lunchtime for a lot of people. I'm ready to get after it. So I'm going to do my quick checks and make sure that we're good on live. Looks like I'm still waiting on Twitch to get the data sent. Other than that, it's looking good. Other than that, it's looking good. Alright. And if you are not already on our Discord server, I'll go ahead and drop that into the chat box now. I believe I can update it on this end. I have to find an easy way to get the Discord channel in there, but without any further ado, like I told you, it's one of my favorite segues to say. I am gonna drop the Discord channel into the description of everything. Hopefully that will work. And we are good. I am getting the hang of this restream. I call it re-stream, but restream probably is the best way to put it. And I want to go ahead and get us right on into a podcast. Get my shortcuts down. Alright. And I am looking for a show today that can motivate us and also get us on the move. I found out about a few new podcast shows. Paychecks is a show based from the company Paychecks. It's actually publicly traded, which I did not know. I went to a conference about government contracting, and if you're familiar with, I just slipped my mind, but 8A, I know 8 and then parentheses A. Forgot the section that goes before, but I believe it's through SBA, Small Business Administration, and they spoke about this Paychecks where you can actually create, it's like an outsourcing of your payroll, and I believe they also have the opportunity for HR as well. But they have a few shows today. I'm not really thinking it'll be the most important show to motivate us, but it does have some pretty cool topics I'll probably be jumping into. Again, let me go over the house rules. So if you hear any noise in the back, that's just life right now. Again, at any moment I may have a disruption in the service, so if that happens, I will just go live again. I am fixing out the kinks every day, and OBS has been great, and so has Restream, but definitely know that things can happen. Another thing is, if by any chance that you feel like this should be super proper and it should be perfect, well, it's not. It's just me opening up and joining in with a community of people that want to learn. So this is a safe space. We don't bash, no political bashing, no religion bashing, no sex bashing, nothing. We're definitely living by our saying, rooting for us all to win. And with that, we also talk about pretty deep topics, and that allows us to be very open-minded and learn about the topics without having to make people feel like they can't belong. But with that out of the way, I think I am feeling a little techie today. I know there's a few techs that we went over one already. Paychecks and Balances is a pretty smooth show. Let's see what they got. Shout out to Rich Jones. I have to also figure out how you can see my mouse one of these days, because I point a lot but can't see it. So I want to see if they have that sounds pretty cool. Living a tax deductible lifestyle. Make money online. Do you even blog? Let's talk about REITs, real estate investment trust. I'm definitely thinking I'm going to check this podcast out. I think it'll be pretty cool. By the way, if you like the last podcast, go ahead and subscribe. I Am Athlete on YouTube. I think Brandon Marshall is executive producing it. It was a great show. Really appreciate the opportunity to share that opportunity with you guys, and I hope you learned something. So I am definitely thinking about tuning into Marriage, Kids, and Money. Two of those are going to be really important. It's not kids for me right now, but money and marriage. It's really important. Tax deduction in my life right now, in my season, living a tax deductible life sounds pretty interesting, and making money online. So any, mini, money, mo, and that's not your problem. Today, my longtime friend, joins brand marketing professional, diving into brand innovation. Probably could learn that. And protecting your mental health, living corporate. It's pretty good. How long are they? 40 minutes. 46, 58. Let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and keep it like this. Motivate us, see what this is about. I'm not getting any sound on my
This is
end.
Rich, and you're listening to Paychecks
So
and
that must mean
Balances,
you're getting sound
where
on
you'll
your
hear
end. Give me 1
dope
second.
conversations on
Thanks.
navigating your finances and career so you can achieve the freedom and you're listening to Paychecks. And it's great to be back, and I can't wait to share some of the conversations that I've got lined up with hand-picked guests who keep things fun, relatable, and informative. And also, thanks to everyone that voted for Paychecks and Balances for the Plutus Awards, which recognizes a diverse range of personal finance content creators. And P&B is a finalist in 3 categories: Personal Finance Podcast of the Year, yes; Personal Finance Content for Underserved Communities, yes; and Best Generational Financial Literacy Content. And even if P&B doesn't win any of these awards, it's great to be amongst so many names who are doing great things in the personal finance space. As for today's episode, I'm kicking off the season with Carter Cofield, who previously appeared on episode 143. Carter is a certified public accountant, personal finance specialist, and the owner of Cofield Advisors, LLC. He also recently launched his own podcast over at Cofield Concepts, and we have a fun conversation about mindset, creating income streams, and how to navigate taxes so you're reaping the most while doing the least. And we also get into how to start a business and overcome some of the most common obstacles that hold us back. Taxes, so without much further ado, while doing here's my conversation with Carter, we also get into, and I hope you enjoy. Carter, welcome back to the podcast, man.
Rich, thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited about today. Looking forward to it.
So how has this quarantine COVID life been treating you since it started back in March?
It's been one of the best things that has happened to me, man. Like, I think that the quarantine, the fact that it forced you to sit down and reflect and, do things that you've been promising yourself to do has happened to me, man. Like, again, for me, I've reached milestone. The fact that it forced you to sit down and reflect has been an amazing blessing and an amazing time to, like, reflect on what I want to do, who I want to become, and what the future looks like. I think when the world was open, we were going, and now we actually have a time to sit. So I'm actually really embracing it.
What's been one of the biggest realizations that you've had during this time? And then also, and maybe it's the same thing, what's something where you're kind of like, this isn't so great, so I got to make sure I'm paying a little bit more attention to this?
One of the best things that I've learned about myself is just like, why do I want to achieve so much, right? I think that we're so taught to like go, and once you accomplish something, you go to the next task. But I really want to know why. Like, why do I want to be as successful as I want to be? And for me, the answer to that question was just from the lack that I had as a kid, right? Like, I didn't have much. So I think now I have this overcompensation if I want to be successful to make up for the kid that didn't have it. And now that I know, I'm just okay with it, but I just didn't know before. So that's probably been the biggest realization. And the thing that I probably need to stop, and we just talked about this a little bit before, like, a glass of wine a night has turned into 3 glasses of wine, and like, so I'm like, I need to probably cut back on the drinking, not heavy, but just like, I have a trainer now, so he's like, dude, stop, a glass of wine a night has turned to 3 glasses of wine, and like,
it's
so
funny
like,
how that abs, muscles, things, the vanity muscles, the things that people can obviously see, we hear about that, and then we're like, yeah, we got to make that move.
All right, I think everything is good.
You can do as many sit-ups as you want.
If
you don't eat right, nothing's going to show. So
tap into the comment box.
And I'm with you there too on the not drinking. And for me, since the beginning of July, I've cut alcohol altogether, because I think I'd gotten to a point where I was having, one too many cocktails, one too many mixed drinks, not necessarily feeling great every day. And I made that big decision to just cut alcohol altogether. So at the time that we're recording this, it's been just over 2 months of being purely alcohol free. And it has made a very big difference in terms of alertness, not being thirsty, being able to sleep a little bit better, even though sleep is still very much an issue for me. So I'm totally with that. And I love what you said about kind of tying the scarcity mindset to wanting to achieve more, because I think for a lot of us, we operate that way. I think about the experience that I had growing up. I think about some of the things that I dealt with, and I think about how driven I am. And for me, it's probably a little bit to sleep a little bit better, even wanting to prove still very much an issue for me. So I'm totally no longer in my life. And they might what you said on TV, or they'll stumble across the podcast one scarcity. But I think about the experience I had growing up with things like wanting to achieve, and actually having a teacher say you'll never amount to anything, and having a principal tell me that I was going to end up in jail, to where I am today. So that kind of serves as fuel in terms of me always wanting to be the best at everything I do. And then I think just naturally I'm a competitive person too.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I love what you said about, about the childhood traumas, if you will. Those can be the deciding factors. Like when we don't want to do something, it shouldn't be our pure motivation, but when you're about to have a lazy moment and you think about that teacher that said you weren't going to be anything, that'll light a spark and you'll go for another few hours, So I think that as long as it's not the core what's pushing you, but because I don't think that's healthy, but I do think that those childhood memories, those things that really stick in our heart are great motivating factors. And with me as well, it's what drives me every day.
I love that. And also part of it, I heard you talk about this on your podcast a bit, this element of the scarcity mindset and how you thought about spending money. So can you talk a little bit about that too? Because I think you brought a really unique perspective, and at least one that I hadn't heard before, for how folks may look at money and how that can impact their spending habits.
No, yeah, for sure. Again, thank you for listening to my podcast, man. When you listen to it, I know I've made it. But yeah, so as I mentioned in the story, I came from South Side of Chicago, 9 of us in one home. Money wasn't abundant in our household by any means. So, when I would come across a substantial amount of money, which back then was like a $20 bill, I would be so rushed to spend it because I didn't think it really belonged to me, right? I would rush to spend it because I thought if I don't spend it now, somebody's going to take it away from me, because I was so used to not having much and such in the mindset I lack. And that really drove me not being able to save, because when I would get some money, I was like, oh, I have to go spend it because it's not really even mine in the first place. So for me, it took a long time to get past that and understand that money is prevalent, money is paramount, and it can belong to me. And one of the things that helped out the most, I was reading a book and it talked about how much money is circulating in the U.S. economy and how many people they were, and it did a calculation. But basically, there's enough money for everybody, adults, kids, babies, to have $80,000 a year. So that was the first time I knew it was okay that some money belonged to me, and it really helped me get out of that scarcity mindset.
What else? Because I know a book is just one part of it. I've started to read a lot more myself, but what else has helped you kind of turn that around and move that mindset more so toward abundance?
Yeah, so much. So I think, again, it's understanding your relationship with money, and if it's negative or positive, understanding why. But for me, it's been understanding, how money works and focusing on making more money versus spending less money. And I think you should control your expenses, obviously, right? But I think when you only focus on spending less money, it sticks you in this mindset of scarcity. Versus if you focus on how can I make more money, how can I, have more streams of income, it puts you into this abundant, powerful state when it comes to money. So for me, that has been a huge help. Knowing that there's enough money for all of us to go around, knowing that if I focus more on making money versus trying to spend less, it puts me in this powerful, abundant state. I think the more, money is a game. The more you understand how money works, and the more you understand the rules, the easier it is to make, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I'm thinking of a lot of people out there who are in debt, student loans, of course, particularly with the millennial generation, credit card debt. And the concept of making more money beyond the day job is foreign. It's, I need to keep getting these benefits. I need to keep getting this steady paycheck so I can keep making these student loan payments. I don't really got time to be picking up something else right now. So how can people balance that where they feel like they already have a lot on their plate and they're just trying to get out of debt, but at the same time, there's this whole world and there's this whole opportunity for them to actually increase their income through other means, which is ultimately going to help them in terms of getting out of debt and achieving some of those goals that they have in mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, and I'll give you a little bit about my story. I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad while I was at work. 6-hour audiobook, right? listen to the whole thing at work, but it shows how much work I was doing at that time. But listen to the whole
ain't
book,
hear that from me.
and dude, it just completely revitalized, reorganized how I think. And the premise of the book is, obviously, going to work is fine. I kept my job for a while before I quit, but there's other ways of making money. And if you don't find another way to make money outside of your job, you'll be stuck in this race of, making money to pay down debt and then spending and making money to pay down debt and then spending. And it's a vicious cycle. If you don't catch it, you'll be there for your entire lifetime. So I think reading that book really helped me understand why I need to spend making ways outside of work to make money. And I gave myself the excuse of, I work a lot. I have to work 70 hours a week. There's no time for that. But honestly, I realized that was an excuse, and that was just me being in my own way. And I started hanging out with entrepreneurs. And honestly, that would probably be my number one piece of advice to people who are stuck at work and that think that there's no other way to make outside money. Spend some time with a couple entrepreneurs, take them to lunch, and just see how they think and see how they process making money outside of their normal means. And it's so many ways now with technology, with
feeding off mindset,
all of the resources that we have now. So many ways to make money outside of your job, and you can do it from something that you actually love, which I think makes it even more fun.
Now, you mentioned go hang with entrepreneurs. So it's not like you just walk into, you can't walk into a whole lot of places right now, but how do you even make those connections? Because yes, there's the people that we see on Twitter and social media, and yeah, you can send them a tweet asking to get their DM so you can invite them out for coffee. Yes, you can
go make a Discord channel or join mine.
LinkedIn. But how do you even create those relationships or find the type of people that you want to associate with and kind of get those people to let you into their world? Because probably for you and probably for us, there are a lot of people who reach out to us, and the more work that we do, the more that we become known, the more requests we see from people. And so we have to be discerning at a certain level about who we let into our circles and where we're investing our time. So considering that, how would you recommend that people even start creating these relationships to be in a position where they can take someone out for a virtual coffee,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You can't just DM somebody and expect them to drop everything and talk to you, right? But and the COVID quarantine has put us in a weird place. But for me, what I did, Meetup.com, right, is a place where you can literally find meetups for anything. And one of those things would be entrepreneur meetup. It'll be freelancer meetup. It'll be podcaster meetups, right? I think leveraging Facebook groups, Meetup.com, going to conferences, right? We met at FinCon, right? So there's plenty of places to surround yourself so that you can make a genuine connection to someone and kind of use that person to bounce questions off of. So for me, I use Meetup.com. I went to all these networking events, and I found an amazing group of entrepreneurs. And when you as you are who you spend the 3 to 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're an entrepreneur and all you hang out with is employees, you're going to be an employee again before you know it. So I think that if you use these resources and these social media sites and these conferences when we're able to do those again to make genuine connections with other entrepreneurs, just so that you can see it's possible. Because I believe you can't be what you can't see. So you need to see it being possible first, and then I promise you it'll become easier.
I like it. And did you know the types of entrepreneurs? So for example, entrepreneurship is very, very broad. There's the podcasters, there's the YouTubers, there's the coaches, there's the certified financial planners, tax accountants, folks like yourself. There's so many different ways to dabble in entrepreneurship. So when you were building these relationships, was it like you were going to finance related meetups or anything in a particular lane or niche, or was it a bit more broad for you?
So for me, it started off very niche based. I knew I wanted to hang out with people that were doing what I was doing for a few reasons. One, I didn't know what the heck I was doing starting out. So the more people that can tell me, if I'm going in the right direction, was the better. So for me, it was very niche focused. But one of my mentors, he gave me a really good piece of advice. He said, if you hang out with people that are doing only what you want to do and that believe exactly what you believe in, you'll never grow. So at that point, I wanted to start hanging out with different entrepreneurs, people that were in completely different industries, people that were doing things that I didn't think was possible or profitable. For instance, FinCon is such a vast range of different professions, but it's all around finance. So I thought there's no way you can make money talking about money on YouTube, and then I found out somebody's making $40,000 a month. I'm like, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. So for me, like making money off podcasts and things like that. So it started off very niche, but then I expanded and I grew so much more because these are people that have completely different ideas and beliefs, which made me start venturing out and doing other business ventures, which has been a blessing.
Now, we're going to talk a bit about turning a side hustle or an idea into a business, but I think you've also mentioned income streams. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So what are some of the income streams that you have right now? And what are some of the other ideas that you may have for people? And also with this, I know I'm asking a lot of questions here. Do you believe that people really need to have 7 income streams? Because I've heard that thrown around in the context of millionaires, but that can also sound overwhelming to people too.
Yeah, absolutely. So as the adage goes, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income, which is true. But I also think, like you say, it can be a little scary. People say 7, I could barely have 1. So I think it can be a little paralyzing, if you will, to think about 7 streams of income. So do I think you need 7? No, you can have 4. You can have 4 great ones, or you know what I'm saying? You'll be fine. But I think you definitely need more than 1, because if quarantine and COVID has taught us anything, 1 income source is not guaranteed anymore. So to answer your original question, I have about 6 or 7, but it didn't start out that way. This is over years, right? So when I was working my full-time job, my first side income was a rental car company, which basically was just me renting my car out on Turo, which Turo was a platform that you can rent your car out. And then it started making about $700 a month. Then I got more cars, and then that put me in a position to quit my job and then start my business. So I have my business income. I still have a couple cars. So I have my rental car business. I have my courses that I sell. We'll talk about that later. I have my income from my investments, so my dividends, my appreciation, things like that. And 5, I'm about to close under my first rental property, so that'll be another stream of income.
Congrats.
And, yeah, thank you. It's been a process, dude. It's been a process, but and then affiliate, working with people, products who I believe in, and letting my audience know about it. Yeah, so I have about 6 or 7. I think the biggest thing, it's not about what they are, it's about how easy they can be to manage, right? It's not something that has to take 45 hours a week. Like my car rental business, it runs itself, right? My course business kind of runs itself. My rental property, it should run itself. And I heard an interesting quote just yesterday, right? And the quote was, "You're not making money if you're not making money when you're not working." It was something along those lines, right? You're not making money unless you're making money when you're not working, and that is the place I think we all need to try to get towards.
And for the car rental business, because I'm sure COVID has changed a lot, I'd imagine that's taken a hit. So yes, and I see you nodding. People can't see you nodding, but I see you nodding. And it's probably not as significant because you do have these other income streams, which I think makes the greater point of why it's important to have multiple. So even if one suffers a bit, you still have others that are continuing to generate income. But I guess, how do you recommend, so let's say, or maybe even what you've done where you see one income stream is starting to dip, do you balance or change anything with the others? Do you look to pick up an additional one, or do you kind of just say, you know what, I'm gonna ride this out and not change anything and create more overwhelm for yourself in the process?
For me, if one, it's low for a few months and one takes a hit, I don't really stress out again because I have so many others. But what I do is take a step back and find a way, how can I fix this income stream to make sure it doesn't have as many, I guess, holes in it as it does, before. But COVID is obviously something that we can't control. But I think that's the whole point, right? If you have 5 or 6 streams of income, when one takes a dip, you're not stressed because you have 5 other ones. And usually the way the world works, when one takes a dip, another one increases. So again, like my car rental business took a dip, but the stock market rose, right? So that income was going up, and then now more people are at home and they're engaging in self-education. So my course sales went up. So I think that the whole point of having 5 or 6 streams of income is that when one dips, you're fine and you can keep being happy and running the world. I don't think the point is to stress about it. That's why you have the diversification.
I love it, man. And creating a business also tied to something I want to talk about as it relates to taxes, because one thing I thought was interesting, well, you've said a lot of interesting things, But one thing that really jumped out, and you mentioned it on the last episode that you were on, and I was listening back to it, and I'm like, I wish we dug more in on it then, but we have that opportunity now, is this idea that taxes, the way that taxes are set up is that it's for, well, not for individuals, not for people who are just working the 9 to 5. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I thought that was something really interesting in terms of how taxes are set up.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we're digging into this, because if people can wrap their hands around this, their life will change forever. So the tax code is not made for employees. The tax code is made for entrepreneurs and investors, or entrepreneurs, investors, and freelancers, right? People that are not working in the traditional space. And that sucks, because like we were taught to go to school, get a job, and we'll be fine. But here's the tax code saying, we're not in your favor. We want to support the entrepreneurs and investors. And the reason why is because the tax code is a game. It's an incentive system. Entrepreneurs and business owners bring more jobs into the workforce, which helps the economy. Investors are putting their money into companies, which enhance the economy. So that's all the IRS wants you to do. If you do what they want you to do, they'll provide benefits for you. So to your point, to kind of bring this point home, this is how the taxes work for employees. They get paid at work. The government takes taxes out before they get a chance to do anything, and they spend what's left. As an entrepreneur or business owner, you make money, you spend it, reinvest it into your business, and then you pay taxes on what's left. So that subtle shift is like thousands of dollars, the difference, right? So I think that people can understand that, and understand that, an employee making $100,000 at work might only take home 70, but a business owner making 100,000 might take home the entire 100,000 and not have to pay any taxes on it if he's using his income and expenses the right way.
Now, on one hand, I get angry because I'm an employee, but then, on the other hand, I'm also an entrepreneur, and I have seen some of those benefits, even in terms of some of the things that I've been able to write off. And there's been things over the years where I just wasn't as informed, and so there's probably money that I left on the table. And I think that's another big thing, is that I want people to not leave money on the table. And so is there anything specific to, so if you are an employee, are there things that you see people commonly missing out on? It's just like general, like, yo, you didn't think about this? Like, yo, that is an easy way to reduce your taxable income, or to get a little bit of money back. So is there anything like that comes to mind? Let's say someone's not a full-fledged entrepreneur yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, man, taxes are everyone's number one expense, right? The average person gets 40% of their lifetime income to the IRS. Like, imagine, Rich, what could you do with 40% of your money back per year, right?
I mean, I'm not going to talk about what I would do with it, but yeah, I'd be responsible partially.
Yeah. So my thing is, if I can help people reduce their largest expense that they have, like, how much better could their lives be? So to answer your original question, if you're an employee, there are a few easy things that you can do to lower your tax liability. One is contributing to your company 401k or IRA. And the reason that's so powerful is because not only are you saving money on taxes, you're increasing your net worth, because you're putting your money in investing, and it is growing. So, for every dollar you put into your 401k or IRA, you save about 40% of that dollar on taxes. So if you put $10,000 in your 401k, you not only invested $10,000, but you save $4,000 in taxes. So that's one thing. Two is what's called a HSA, and most employees have HSAs, and they spend money on health expenses already anyway. So if you put money in your HSA, you get to pay for those expenses pre-tax, which I think, again, is saving you 40% of every dollar. So just these subtle nuances that you can do, probably take you 10 seconds to set up, or 10 minutes to set up, you'll save $1,000 on taxes each and every year going forward.
Now, you mentioned health savings accounts, and that is something that's provided at my job. And I'll admit, I've always been someone who's just went for the PPO option. I like the Cadillac plan. I didn't like the idea of having an amount that would have to come out of pocket. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. And I know that HSAs tend to be more beneficial to folks who are younger and maybe don't have as many health-related issues, the folks who only maybe go in like once a year, or they don't go to the doctor at all. So what do you kind of say to that for the folks who are just like, I'm just PPO all the way. I've always voted PPO. I'm going to keep voting PPO. And not looking at this other option, even though it's something that might ultimately be more beneficial to them.
Yeah, so let's just give a quick overview. A health savings account is it comes with a high deductible plan. And all you need to know is that if you're young and you're healthy, you're not going to the hospital that often, then a high deductible plan can work in your favor because it's generally about 40 to 50% cheaper than a PPO plan. So instead of paying, $350 a month, you might pay 150 or 200, and now you're saving $150 a month. And what you can do is take that difference and then put it in your HSA, because HSAs have what's called a triple tax benefit. You put money in and you get a tax deduction for it. So you can put up to $3,400 in there a year. I think it might have went up in 2020, but so you can put $3,400 in there, and then you save on taxes. You get a tax deduction for that. The money is invested, so the money is growing as you put the money in there, and it grows tax free. So that's two. And then when you use it, you don't pay any taxes when you use it. So you're saving taxes in three ways, and you're paying for future healthcare expenses, and it doesn't end at the end of the year. That thing can grow. I had a client with $100,000 HSA. So when that person gets old, they will never have to pay any medical bills out of pocket because they have an HSA that's been growing and working in their favor.
Yeah, I want to say that I'm going to look at it in November when it's open enrollment time, but I know I'm probably, so I'm 37. I've been healthy. I haven't had any issues. I get my back hurt, my knee hurts, these things hurt.
Yeah.
And there are other benefits, and ways to look at it. But I think that's a good overview for people, especially considering most of the folks who listen to this podcast are in the millennial generation. And we do have a lot of folks who are healthy and have never even thought about this option. They just see it, don't know what it is, and just pick what they've always picked. So I love that you shared that. Now, let's talk a little bit about creating a business. And so there are folks who they have something that they're dabbling in a bit on the side. So maybe they're doing a podcast, or maybe they're putting stuff on Etsy here and there, or maybe they're doing some Amazon where they're selling random, not Amazon, maybe they're doing like a eBay where they're selling random things that
But
they
you can
have.
do Amazon for
And then there are the
Amazon
people
business
who haven't started anything at all. So they're listening to this episode and they're saying, you know what? I think I'm ready to start something. So where do you begin? And we'll start with the people who haven't yet started something and they're trying to figure out how to even start a business in the first place. We'll start with them. Where do you recommend folks begin? And also considering that we want them to minimize the overwhelm.
Yeah, great question. So I believe every great side business or business should start as a hobby. And the reason I say that is because you want to see if you like doing it for free. Because if you like doing it for free, you love doing it when you get paid for it. I think about thinking about something that, because we all have gifts, we all sell ourselves short on our abilities, our skills, our gifts, and we all have some greatness within us. So I think you need to take a day, like so we have quarantine to reflect. Take a day and reflect on what am I good at? What do I like doing? And then that's the first question. Like, what are you passionate about, right? And then you take that and you ask yourself a second question, and that is, now that I'm passionate about it, can I make it profitable? Right? How can I turn this into a business to potentially get paid for it? And when you ask yourself those questions, you'll come up with a list of things that you like and that you're able to do. And I think another important question is, does it serve? Does it make someone else's life better? And if you get answer to all those questions, you can definitely find an easy side business. Like you said, podcasting probably for you started out as a hobby, right? Yeah. And for me, giving out financial advice started out as a hobby. Literally after work, I let people schedule consultations from 6 to 8, and we would talk about their financial issues, and I would give advice. And I did that for a while, about 3 to 4, maybe even 6 months before I even thought about starting a business. But I loved it. It brought me happiness, and I was doing it for free. So I knew if I could find a way to get paid for it, it'd be a wrap.
So let's say they've gotten an idea, they've talked to people. And I also think what's cool about what you did is by talking to people, you get a sense of what the most common questions are. You know what it is that people need, and it helps you to be able to position yourself when you do turn it into a business. So let's say they've come up with a few ideas, something that they like, something that would excite them to be able to make money doing it. What's next?
Rich, I love that you said that. That's such a huge point. I want to expand on it for a second. And I'm actually coming out with a free Start Your Dream Business Masterclass. So hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, that link will be in my Instagram bio. But this is the part here's the best thing about doing pro bono work. And pro bono work is free work because it does three very, very valuable things. One, like you said, it is free practice. You get to practice your skill, your craft for free, and you get a list of the most important questions, people's pain points. You get all this data, this really, really needed data for your business, and you're doing it for free. Number two, you're building relationships, right? You're building relationships. People are so happy and that you're doing work for them for free. And podcasts, you're building reviews, right? Like you're getting this social proof that what you're doing is important. And number three, it helps you understand your value. So after my free consultations that I would give to people, I would say, like, hey man, like now that we're done, like how much do you think that was worth? They're like, oh man, they throw out a price. And what I found when I looked at the average is that people thought it was way more valuable than I thought. So then it helped me kind of find a price point for where my services fit. So I think that doing a pro bono work that gave me so much insight. So by the time I started my business, I already had people that wanted to work with me. I already knew how much I wanted to charge, and I had a wealth of knowledge of what people's most common concerns were. So it was huge.
Now, you mentioned pricing, and that makes a lot of people nervous. It's made me nervous because you're like, I don't want to charge too much. I don't want to come off greedy. But even within pricing, there's just the element of selling. Like you've got to be comfortable selling your business, even if it's not a hard sell where you're, going and doing ads and things like that. But you want people to want to work with you. And when you say that price, you want to say it confidently, because if you sound hesitant about it, whoever you're talking to is going to pick up on that. And so I see you waving your finger, so I'm going to let you jump in there.
Yeah, I think this is such a powerful concept that you brought up, and we can talk about this for hours, but I'll keep it short. Never raise your pricing till you believe in that price, because once you raise your prices and you don't believe it, people will pick up on that in a heartbeat, and they'll be like, "No." Like you're like $200, they'll be like, "No." Like But so again, I think prices. There's two things you don't believe it. People will pick up on that in the confidence of price. Like when it comes to pricing, one is what I mentioned before. If people are telling you how much they think it's worth, they're telling you what your price should be, and that gives you confidence in saying that price out loud. And number two, you have to believe it by putting in the work and understanding your value. When I throw out my pricing for my services, I'm so confident because I put in the decades and hours of work to be as good as I am. And I'll end it with this short story that solved my pricing problem for the rest of my life, right? So, it's this guy painting outside in Paris, and this woman walked past and said, like, hey, can you paint a picture of me? He was like, sure. So he painted. About 20 minutes later, he showed her the portrait. He was like, she was like, it's great. How much does it cost? He said, $10,000. She's like, what? That took you 20 minutes. He said, no, it took me 20 years. And the point of that is people are not paying for your service. They're paying for the college you went to, the master's degree or whatever. They're paying for the thousands of hours that it took you to be as good as you are at whatever your craft is. And once you understand that, then you don't worry about pricing anymore. At least for me, it really helped give me some clarity.
It does, because I'm working on a course now too, and I struggled with some of that pricing stuff, and I've struggled with some of the pricing stuff over the years of consulting that I've done, and I had to put it in that framework of, I've been doing this, and the things that I create and that I consult on are actually more so in the career side of things, because it's like, hey, I have over a decade of experience as a recruiter across industries. I've worked my way into a company like Google. I've had these on-site interviews, and I haven't not gotten the job in over a decade. So everything that I've interviewed for, I've gotten, and I have a methodology for being able to do that. So that is worth something. It's not just the 4 modules that you're completing. It's not just that 60 minutes. It's all this time and trial and error. And even as I'm saying it now and I'm reflecting on it, I can feel the confidence behind it, where it's like, if you can't pay this.
I did a quick calculation, right? Just based on what you told me. You've put in over 140,000 hours into what you've been built to do. So again, people are not paying for the time it takes you to make this course. They're paying for the 140,000+ hours that you put in to be as good as you are at what you do.
Yeah. And when you put it in that context, I hadn't even thought of it for that number, and then I just think about also the podcast and everything else, and I'm getting even more confident. So sorry, y'all, that price might go up when this comes out.
Yeah, there you go. Price just went up.
That's how we do it. And so, all right, somebody's got the pricing down. They're ready to go full steam. They're ready to move away from getting paid via Cash App and Venmo and to actually creating a business. So what's next? And we're not going to go through everything, because we ain't got enough time for that today, but just I want to get through like these few early steps so that we can at least get someone up and running.
Now that you know, have your idea, you've turned it into a business, you start making a little bit of money. I think the first thing you want to do is to incorporate your business, and this is for a few reasons. And by incorporate, I mean starting out just getting an LLC. That's best for most starting out entrepreneurs. And the reason is because of a few things. One, it builds credibility. You know, you're not just rich. You know, of course, you're now paychecks and balances, right? You have a name that stands behind what what you're doing in it. Because if you're not willing to invest in yourself, people won't invest within you. You know, so number one is credibility. Number two is asset protection. You want to incorporate because if you get caught up in a litigation, right, if you don't incorporate, people can sue your business and they can sue you. But once you incorporate, you now protect yourself from the business. So you want to make yourself an LLC. Then you want to get a business bank account. You don't want all the money coming in and out of your personal account, and now you're using it to pay, for the drinks the other night. So you want to separate the business and the person. So you want to open a business bank account. And then you want to make sure all the money is coming into that business, and then all the money for that expenses for the business is coming out of that account. So now you've successfully separated yourself from the business. And at that point, you pretty much have the basic setup. Now you just go out there and market yourself and go make money and keep those systems in place. And at that point, I think it's very, very important to start looking at what I call your write-offs. And people don't understand what write-offs is. It's expenses related to your business the IRS allows you to deduct from your income. And what most people don't know is they have write-offs. There are things that you're paying for right now as an employee, as a person, that will immediately become tax deductible once you open a business, like the day of, So I think that's very important as well.
What are some of the things most commonly when you're working with folks you see that they don't think about that they could be writing off? Because I'm sure there's like 3 or 4 things that people's like, oh, wait, I can write that off. And it's like, yes, that is why you are a business, or at least part of the reason.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I actually I came prepared. So I have the 10 most common personal expenses that become immediately tax deductible that most people don't know about. So number one is your phone and phone bill. Rich, somebody calls you on your cell phone, and that is the same phone used for personal, but they call you on your cell phone talking business. That phone is now a business phone, and you can now write off the cost associated with the phone and your phone bill. So that's number one. Number two is auto expenses. If you're using your car to drive to work, to meet a client, to go to a conference, a portion of that car, the car note and the car insurance is tax deductible. Meals and entertainment. Anytime, Rich, if we was to sit down and go to dinner, I would say, yo, it's on me because I know that I get to write off that dinner. So that's one very, very important thing. And I think something very important to do as a new entrepreneur and business owner is to make your friend is your business partner. Because now every time y'all go out to eat, every time y'all go out for drinks, it's now a business expense. So all my friends, we do some type of business together. So I think that's very important. And then you have like your internet at home, membership dues. I'm a part of Soho House and my business work with creative. So I write off my membership. Any money you pay an accountant, you get to write that off. And very, very important, education. Education and conferences are very important. We went to FinCon, right? I got to write off that flight. I got to write off that the hotel and all the costs associated with it. And then there's some really, really fun things that you can do around planning your personal travel, around business conferences. And now you're kind of getting a write-off for your vacations. And it becomes a really, really fun game after a while. You're like, how can I get the IRS to pay for my clothes, to pay for my vacations, to pay for my car, right? And it really becomes a fun game, and you're saving thousands of dollars in the process.
I'm getting excited as I'm hearing this.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm like, ooh, I got some opportunities, or maybe when things open back up a bit more. But do you ever get people kind of worried, like, oh, like that sounds shady, like I don't want to trigger an audit? Is that something that comes up?
Yeah, and I think, with anything, the less you know about something, the more you're afraid of it, right? Because you just don't know. So, before, you're probably scared to drive a car when you first started because you didn't know what you were doing. Now you hop in a car and it's second nature. So I believe that people are very, very nervous and fearful about things they don't understand. So the point of making my tax-free living course and my point of talking about taxes so much is to get people educated about it. And once they become educated, they become way less fearful. So at first, the people are hesitant. When I explain it to them, like, hey, Rich, if you're going on vacation in Vegas, right, for Saturday and Sunday, and then you meet with a friend on Friday, you meet with the business partner on Friday, and you meet with the business partner on Monday, you can now take that whole trip is now a business vacation because you met somebody on Friday, you met somebody on Monday. Now the IRS allows you to write off that whole weekend because you had to stay in Vegas till Monday to meet with that second person. So it's all these things that the more I educate you, the more confident that you become to actually do it.
Yeah, bro, we might have to talk about some of the business partnership after this. I'm like, yeah, where can we meet, fam?
Exactly, for sure.
So I think this is a great segue as we're rounding toward the end here. So you did create a course, and I want you to share more about that. And you might have even dropped some nuggets that are already included in there. So talk a little bit more about Deduct Everything, because just given what you've shared already, I think it's something that'll be incredibly powerful for people.
My Deduct Everything course is designed to help business owners, entrepreneurs, freelancers, even people with a side gig, right, save thousands of dollars on taxes. And the reason I created this course is because people will come to me with so many questions, right? And a lot of people, especially starting out, can't afford a one-on-one consultation with me or to work with me one-on-one. So instead of saying no to people, I wanted to find a way to say, hey, I can't help you personally, but I created this resource that you can get for a nominal price so that you can, because I believe that you deserve the education as well. So due to quarantine, man, I just sat down and I put the thousands of hours that I've studied the tax code and studied the CPA code or whatever, and I put it into this really concise, really fun, really like video walkthrough course to teach people exactly what I do to live tax-free. I've made multi-six figures over the last couple of years, and my tax liability is less than somebody going to work that makes $50,000. So I'm paying less. I'm making probably quadruple to three times as, probably six times as much money as somebody is working and the employee, and I'm paying less taxes than somebody who has a job that's making $40,000 to $50,000 a year.
That's crazy, man. And right now, the course, and of course, it's going to be dependent on when people listen to this, they hear about it. But right now, that course, I believe it's under $200, right?
Yeah, the course is $147, and I throw out deals, and actually for your audience, I want to give them 25% off by using a special code. You put in your show notes or whatever. But the point of the course for me wasn't to make money. My point of the course was to make an impact. If I can help people lower their highest expense of 40%, if I can lower it down to 10 or even 0, that person now has freedom to live a better life, to finally start that business that they want to start, right? So this course for me was about making an impact. And as boring as taxes sound, I think I did a good job of making this course really fun, really interactive. And I think I get people excited, just how you got excited a couple minutes ago when I start giving you these pitches about, things like write off a vacation, or I'll give you another one. You can write off your shopping spree. So if you go shopping and you stitch paychecks and balances anywhere on your clothing, that clothing and the stitching is now tax deductible. So my favorite blazers, I'm getting Cofield Advisors stitched right on that thing, and now that the $200 blazer is now a $200 business expense.
Is it okay if I stitch it on the inside so people can't see?
Yeah, it has to be visible. It has to be visible. It has to be, I should have said, it has to be, the IRS is not playing about that. It has to be visible. So I think the point is, man, if I can get people in a headspace to play this game, which all tax code is a game, if I can give them the rules to play the game on a fair pay, be empowered.
I love it, man. And so that will be available. I'll make it simple for folks. Paybal, paybal.co/deduct everything. That's going to be the link. If you're listening to this, just remember that, paybal.co/deduct everything to learn more about and comp the course. And we'll get all the discount code stuff figured out before this goes live. So Carter, it's been fantastic having you on the podcast again. I'm glad we had a chance to catch up, excited for what you have coming up, and it's dope to see all of the progress that you've made since the last time you were on the show. So for those that don't know where to find you, tell them where to find you.
Yeah, for sure. Before I get to that, I want to say thank you for having me back, man. This is always fun. And, I didn't even realize how much time flew because it's just such a good back and forth, man. So I appreciate you having me back on. But you can find me a couple places. One is Instagram, Cofield_advisor. I'm posting literally every day, giving free gems on how to be more financially literate, how to save on taxes, how to start your own business. So you can find me on Instagram at Cofield_advisor, or you can check out my new podcast. It's called Cofield's Concepts. It's on every podcasting platform. That's Cofield's Concepts. Hopefully I can get as good as Rich one day. And then Yeah, and then last but not least, CofieldAdvisors.com is my website. You can see my blog and everything like that. And Rich gave a link for the course. And I mean, I'm just always here to help. And I think that, making an impact is what we all should be doing, and using our God-given gifts to make the world a better place.
Indeed, man. So appreciate the inspiration.
All right, man. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks again to Carter for coming on the podcast, and a great kickoff to the second season. Again, to cop his Deduct Everything course, visit paybal.co/deduct everything. That's paybal.co/deduct everything. And the code for that discount is tax-free. Tax-free will get you the discount that he mentioned. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share with your network, subscribe, and hit us with those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if that's where you're doing your listening.
So I have no clue what he just said.
Everything.
Making an impact is what we all should be doing, and using our God-given gifts to make the world a better place.
Indeed, man. So appreciate the inspiration.
All right, man. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks again to Carter for coming on the podcast, and a great kickoff to the second season. Again, to cop his Deduct Everything course, visit paybal.co/deduct everything. That's paybal.co/deduct everything. And the code for that discount is tax-free. Tax-free will get you the discount that he mentioned. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share with your network, subscribe, and hit us with those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if that's where you're doing your listening. This week's 5-star review comes from Matchels. It's written Matchels, so I'm going to go with that. And the subject is informative and down to earth. And it reads, "Been listening since the quarantine started. I'm a millennial who's finally starting to get financially fit, and every episode has at least one thing new I learn or take away. Leaves me inspired and motivated to continue, even during #these times. Keep it up." So Matchels, really appreciate this 5-star review and those kind words. Glad to have you along for the ride as we cruise through these millennial streets. And if you'd like to find Paychecks and Balances on Twitter and Instagram, check out @PayBalances. And for the private Facebook group filled with folks coming up professionally and financially, we're at Paychecks and Balances. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Until then, be safe. I'm out. Peace.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got a chance to watch that episode. I think it was all around a solid episode. Want to leave you with some parting notes as the phone in the background rings. But I took a lot of notes, honestly, so I'm really definitely about ready to share this with you. Some of the things that I had thought that made the most sense. So let me start at the top and say that, hey, I'm pretty excited that we were able to hear from another entrepreneur. Again, this was from Paychecks and Balances. As you can see, the podcast host and creator's name is Rich Jones. Looks like Carter Cofield was the guest today. I was able to find some of his, work, or better yet, I found his web pages and was able to look up on him. One of the things that I notice a lot of people don't share is that they have a LinkedIn. So a pro tip is always try to see if someone has a LinkedIn. I find that there's less traffic, and I know they talk about DMs a lot. However, if you are a premium member, there's something called linked mail or InMail. And it's usually a better chance for me to connect with people. So free tip there. I found him on Instagram, and I also found him on LinkedIn, and I will kind of share that with you now. So let me click that over. Again, go join our Discord. They were talking about joining communities of people and being around entrepreneurs. It's always good. That's what we're building here on the Discord server. So let me head on over here. So here's Cofield. I believe this is his Instagram page. Forgive me, I am getting the yard cut, so I know my dog is going to be barking a lot. Come here, buddy. I don't know. I wish my buddy Scoot would let me work, but he's trying to protect the house. So anyway, regardless of that, I wanted to show you his Instagram page. So if you were a fan of him, go ahead and go follow him. I think it's almost done, so hopefully you guys will bear with me. Anyway, found him also on LinkedIn. This is his LinkedIn page. As you can see here, you can go ahead and give him probably a little bit more on his background, where he went to school, a little bit more about his certification. He is a CPA, looks like, and he also has done a few things, so it gives you a little bit more. I love LinkedIn for that reason. And if you can take it a step further, I do have Sales Navigator, so as you can see here, I saved them to like my CRM for LinkedIn for people that I would like to connect. Gives you a little bit of a brand, shows you who you might know, who might know them. I don't get paid for LinkedIn, but I do think it's a super awesome tool, and I highly underutilize it. As you can see, all of the notifications up here sometimes that I may have. So definitely go on and check Carter out. I could not find his course. They kept saying PayPal, but I've been Googling PayPal. I never heard of PayPal. I heard of PayPal, but PayPal, it's just no luck with that for me. So when I came here, PayPal pops up. So PayPal, I don't know what that is. So anyway, and that doesn't look too good, but I was trying to support him. If I find it, I'll put it in the comments below. Now let's get back to it, and let's talk about what we have here. And what we have here is a good episode talking about how you can structure your business to serve you. And also going back to Rich Dad Poor Dad, depending on whichever, if you've ever read it or never read it, it's really a big help. And like he said, you can probably find it in creative ways, but I encourage you and challenge you to maybe go out there and make the investment in a book. As a fellow author, don't want to circumvent anybody, but there is those possibilities to possibly be able to find it elsewhere. Now for that, Rich Dad Poor Dad was obviously a book that shows very simply how businesses work. Another area that I can point you to that is completely free is Khan Academy. I've been tapping into Khan Academy so much lately. It's a lot of free information. Sometimes it gives you a good place, and you can go out Google and hit different perspectives out there to maybe double check. Always double check what people say. And my grandma always told me trust but verify. Now with that, I have my notes here. I took a lot, and I really find that this episode was really helpful in talking about the first thing that I wrote down is making more money versus cutting more expenses. And he, as the end, I think he really clarified that. But cutting expenses sometimes is one way that being frugal is a way that you see the first step we can take is maybe more self-control that can help us reach our goal of generating a better financial balance sheet, or let's take out that term, a better financial standing in your life. So he talks about making more money, bringing in more income. I'm really big on this because I think he also made mention to the fact that COVID-19 has made a lot of uncertainty come about, but that uncertainty was always there. It was just never pulled underneath financially, and with your job and where you get your money from. It just never, the floor never came out from underneath a lot of people, including everyone, myself, anybody really. And really, you put a lot of if you were investing and putting your money in diversifying it, you put it to test in so many ways when the floor came underneath, like a lot of different things. So it says, number one, I want to also make mention, he said, join a community of people, like professionals that you can really grow with. And professionals could be entrepreneurs. I think that's what they made a big point of, but I speak about that in Fundamental 4. And that was, I believe, a Jim Rohn quote is, you become an average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with. So I always make mention, I think I was taught that it doesn't have to be a physical connection, especially now during COVID. We can virtually meet here. Like, you can have meetup.com, you can be in Facebook groups, and also the podcast you listen to. I feel like I just hung out with Carter and Rich because I was able to spend an hour, listen, and I know a big part of me is I talk a lot, which could be a promising thing, and sometimes you have to step back and listen. All leaders need to adjust, and listening helps you to soak in more information. And this hour spent with Carter and Rich is a part of that, spending the most time with. If I spent an hour on another media platform, I'm spending time with that. So it just being mindful of where you spend your time, and it doesn't have to be going, calling somebody up and grabbing some food, or maybe spending an hour or 2 hours together in a physical location. You can do it virtually, and as much as we're tired of Zoom calls, it opens a lot of doors for you to spend time with people. Now, niche versus broad. So depending on how you pronounce it, niche or niche, having your own specific group of people that you're targeting versus going broad, I think it's seasons for that. I wrote that down. Having your specific people. So when I was learning real estate, I wanted to hang around a whole bunch of real estate people. Now I'm let's for a real world example, I'm spending time learning stocks. I want to actually take a step with stocks. I might reach out to people that I know are doing stocks, so I might spend time listening. Like for example, I listen to Khan Academy. It's a real simple place to start understanding the fundamentals. So Khan Academy, I've been spending hours, minutes, whatever time that I can have soaking in some information that I can then go ahead and maybe go broader and find enough my community that I've been building for a long time with my friends, family, and associates, and reach out to them and see what do they see a perspective on with stocks. So that's just one example. You can do that in anything. Again, shout out to him saying podcast meetup. That's what we got going on right now. Podcast meetup. We just hit the 60-minute mark, so I won't take you too long. But do you think creating multiple streams of income is scary? Was a question I wanted to ask the viewers. He made mention, which is Carter, that I think I have in quotations: "You will never grow if you only hang with people you know and believe what you believe." And then it says, income. This isn't quote, but income streams. Do you need 7 income streams? Was asked. And I believe Carter said he had about 7. He listed Turo, the rental car business, which maybe depending on your COVID situation, or not COVID situation, but how your views are, your perspective, could be potentially a good opportunity now, or maybe it could be post-pandemic if things work out. And if you are in a business or startup, maybe that business model has not proven itself, so there's availability for you to come up with a better idea. But Toro was one of his incomes, renting out his car. Business income, it sounds like from his LinkedIn that he was a CPA, certified accountant, certified public accountant, and then he does courses now to deduct everything, which I could not find, but that's more of a passive income, he said. Investments, so he has a stock portfolio, whether it be IRA, Roth IRA, or 401k, or even just investing maybe outside of it. But he does that he's looking at his appreciation and his dividends, so that goes back to the stock investing. He also just closed on his first rental. Whoop, whoop, got to own some things, and affiliate marketing. So anytime you hear me say, hey, I'm not making money, that's because I'm letting you know I'm not an affiliate. You may feel some type of way if I'm presenting maybe products that you may feel like might sway you other ways, but that's all that is. Affiliate marketing is saying, hey, I have a following, I let the followers know, I'll share them my link, and I'll make some money, which if things work out a lot on podcasts, on shows, on YouTube videos, those links will have a disclaimer telling you that there is a potential for commission. But that's another income stream. I have in quotations, you're not making money unless you do it in your sleep. I do believe that's a Warren Buffett quote. I love the fact that he made mention to the quote. Let me get it exactly. If you're familiar with it, then you'll recognize it as soon as I say it. But if not, it's a pretty cool quote. Again, Warren Buffett, I believe, is the CEO or the chairman, or I believe he's definitely founder of Berkshire Hathaway. If I'm not mistaken, they are publicly traded, but I do believe it might be an investment bank if I'm not mistaken. But I do believe they are investment bankers. But it says, if you do not find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. Warren Buffett. And just to kind of verify that Berkshire Hathaway, I don't want to be misleading. Quick Google search doesn't hurt anybody, especially with things that you always feel like, hey, I definitely know that. So it's Wikipedia has them as a multinational conglomerate company. So I think I definitely missed the bar with that. Conglomerate company. One more Google search and I won't be taking up your time. So they're definitely not in the banking services. That's more Goldman Sachs. Conglomerate is a multi-industry company. Combination of multiple business entities operating in entirely different industries under one corporate group, usually involving a parent company and many subsidiaries. Conglomerates are often large and multinational. So it sounds like a giant holding company to me, but hey. But anyway, moving forward. So having 7 income streams, does that scare you? And I would say sometimes it can be real scary. How do you find another income stream when you're just trying to make the first one really successful? And that could be a job, or that could be another income stream. Maybe it's more of a freelance situation. Whatever that number one income stream, for a lot of people, that's the only income stream. And one of the things that they suggested was, well, it should, for them, it wasn't really scary. For this gentleman, he did Toro kind of took a hit. A lot of people not traveling, not a lot of people renting cars. So he didn't really panic because he was diversified. He had stock portfolio. He said, typically, in quotation, when one takes a dip, another one increases. So for him, he saw that increase in his stock portfolio, and I also believe he saw it in his courses because more people were spending time at home. So I like to call that hedging against your losses. You can do that on the stock market, where you could, I got this recently from Khan Academy, but hedging one company you believe would go, one company you believe is going to go up, one company is you're going to go down. There's a strategy where you can hedge, where if it goes down, you offset the company that didn't go up. And we're talking about the middle thing, was combining them as the market as a whole. So if the market is going down, typically you'll see majority of the companies going down. But if you feel like the market is going up, then you'll vote for the company going up. So you buy some stock of the good company, buy some stock of the lower company, and there's we'll just say a philosophy that allows you to hedge your losses, so you can have some type of win, whether regardless of if it goes up or go down. But it doesn't make mention if it stays still. But of course, you get the point. It's really a hedge is for you to protect your losses, to cover your you know what. And he was hedged because he had his philosophies, he had his income streams in different places. So it wasn't Toro and then another thing over Toro and then another thing, same industry stays the same. Nothing comes about for you. But he was in courses, he was in his dividends and appreciation in his stocks, and he had Toro. And Toro could come back, so he didn't really feel it too much, but he did make mention, and I'm talking about Carter, that he was interested to figure out how can he make the income stream still successful in this time. So going back to the tax code, I think they spent a lot of time on taxes. I talk a lot about taxes, and I really, one of my goals in life is to sit down with potentially even Carter. I mean, he's a CPA, but reach out to accountants and sit down and learn. I mean, they make mention to like putting a price on your knowledge, and that's one of the things. Like, everybody typically probably won't become an accountant. Everybody typically won't be a lawyer. Everybody typically won't become a master in everything. So I definitely find it interesting to understand, well, what is the tax code? And we recently just had a tax code pass. Let me see, give me 1 second. If I'm not mistaken, it was 2017 or 2016. Just want to give you all the information, and then I'll also make mention to it. So that way you can go ahead and read it. Most recent tax law. Interesting what I just typed into it. So USA.gov. A new law passed in December 2019 has extended tax break, caused delays for 2019. So I'm just trying to see if they make mention to the laws here. But if it takes too long, then I will. But actually, this is pretty interesting. Then, even though this site existed, USA.gov has a whole section about tax laws changing. It talks about what's new. Okay, there it is. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I think that's what it was called. The Jobs Act. So it was 2017. Okay, but you get the point. Probably going to read that whole tax code is necessary. To glance through it, read as much as you can, but going to sit down with a CPA is important. And I think some of it is the social connotation of, who should be paying more taxes, who should not. That gets put out a lot in political agendas and a lot of regular household conversations. Everybody could possibly be seen at some point talking about taxes, because if you have a job, they come out, and if you have a business, they must be paid. And typically they say, what I think the quote was, two things are for sure, that death and taxes, and you got to pay your taxes. So those are the two constants in life. There is a process to it, and I think there's a lot of interesting things can be learned, and that's what Carter was going to say. So I won't take up too much time on that, but it talks about how to never leave money on the table as an employee. Some things that could be tax deductions. I'm a big component for creating that entity, and he talks about asset protections. as a business, and if you do have something you do on the side, how you can legitimize it and show proof of concept and take that to market and make money, and then also experiences the different tax. And that's the biggest thing about Rich Dad Poor Dad, to go back. Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about how to see simple balance sheets, which is assets to liabilities, the income statement, which is your cash flow, so what's coming in, what's going out, and then of course assets are things that you own that have some type of value, and liabilities are things typically that you owe, and the difference between your liabilities and your assets typically will be your equity. So if your equities are lower than your liabilities, then you have negative equity, so you're upside down, as people say. But if there's upside, then you have equity. That means you have something that you, depending on how liquid your assets are, meaning how fast you can sell them. Like a house is typically illiquid because you do have to put it on market, wait, and it's subject to change. But stocks, what I'm now coming to see, is highly liquid. You can buy it today and sell it tomorrow within the rules of day trading. But you know, you can, even if you're a day trader, you can sell a few times per day, whatever the laws require. But if you are an employee, how do you still experience some of these tax, I'd say, incentives? And again, my full disclosure, I am not an accountant, so I cannot give legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot give legal advice. However, reaching out to some of the amazing lawyers and accountants out there, you can definitely find yourself the advice you need, and possibly even just, you know, take this as a starting point to go pursue the information to the T, and by following the laws with professionals who are licensed to do so. So we're having a conversation here, and we're just talking about the things that were mentioned. For instance, the average person's biggest expense is taxes, I believe Carter said. And how do we figure that out? So one is contributing to a 401k and an IRA. It could be one of those things. And a 401k, if you're not familiar, is a savings account. And a savings account, it's not a savings, it's a retirement account. Sorry, phone kind of confused me. It's a retirement account, way different than your savings account, and that allows you to create a nest egg that you can live on later on. So there's some incentives. You're putting pre-tax money, which means before your check comes out and gets taxed, that money that you designated for it will go in, and that money will grow without being taxed first. So that's a 401k and IRA. You put money into it. It's an individual retirement account. You put money into it, and you can open those accounts typically with banks or even with brokerages and different places of that nature, even funds. And that allows you to also invest your IRA. Look it up. There's tons of, we'll be talking about that a lot on this. But by putting there in, you're actually allowing your money to grow in that section tax free. Another one was the HSA, the health savings account. And that one allows you to pay for health expenses pre-tax, is what Carter mentioned. What is pre-tax? That's something that I wanted to make note before we head on out, because it got thrown around a lot. All right, let's see. It says pre-tax, and it sounds pretty simple. Of income or profits considered to be calculated before deductions or taxes. And let's just see if anything could give us a little bit more. Pre-tax deduction are payments toward benefits that are paid directly from employer's paycheck before withholding money for taxes. There are two types of benefit deductions: pre-tax and post-tax. Pre-tax deductions reduce the employee's taxable income, which can be saved the money when filing their federal tax return. Okay, so now that we got that definition, I wanted to also make mention that he shared a few things about PPO. Whew, there's a lot of terms getting thrown out. What does PPO stand for? PPO stands for Preferred Provider Organ. Oh, yep, I think that's it. Preferred Provider Organization. And we have the HSA, which is the health savings account. So he was making mention how you can have that decision between your HSA, and then why he made mention to HSA being even an option was because it's a triple tax advantage. I think he made those words. So you have deductions. You have invested, it gets invested, so it grows without the taxes being taken out of, and then you have no taxes when you're using it. I believe there's definitely some rules to that, but without any more looking into it, the HSA is something that can reduce the tax liabilities for some, and it may be a good option for others out there. So that's one way if you're an employee: your 401k, your IRA, your HSA. And what was the last one? think that's really the most that he gave me, but that was a real good, clever perspective. Starting a business as a hobby. If you love doing it for free, then you will love getting paid for it. That's another thing. That's definitely something that I think was a real clever thing Carter said. If you would do it for free, then if you could get paid for it, why wouldn't you love it even more? I will say, an old saying, I love to fish, but I do not want to get paid for fishing because it becomes a job. But if outside of fishing or outside of maybe more recreational things, if you really do have like a skill that others can benefit from, there are amazing people out there that are fishing guys that put you on the best fish. I'm pretty sure they love it. I was just making a joke, but for sure, do what you love, and if you do it for free, it's spare time, and you can get paid for it, then you can. He made mention to a good way to create a minimum valuable product, or MVP. Probably butchered that, but basically social proof, meaning, hey, will people buy this? If I give it away for free, said give out a free consultation, I'll definitely try that myself. And if people like it, then you can get the data. You can get qualitative data, so their words, or even a survey, so quantitative data. Hey, take this data for free. It's just giving me information about how you like this consultation. From there, ask them after every consultation, what would you pay for this? And if people say over and over, I would pay XYZ or some range, you can probably make an average of that, or be able to say, hey, that's a good price to take to market. Let's go see how many people will actually pay for this service. So that was really cool. And he also made mention, never raise your price until you're comfortable with it. I love sales. It's pretty interesting field to be a part of, but it could be uncomfortable for a lot of people. So that's a real pro tip in my opinion. So rounding the end of this little cap, paying for your expenses and doing it with the asset protection underneath a business. The corporate veil is very important. So another thing from Rich Dad Poor Dad is there's this thing called the cash flow quadrant. So if you're on the left side of the quadrant, imagine there's a cross, and actually, well, I think it's a trademark, so I won't put myself under that situation, but there's a cross, and then over here is an E in the upper left quadrant. Below that is self-employed, so what's referred to as like in engineers or even accountants for this sake, and people that might be self-employed. So, and also he makes mention of that as stars, so like athletes and also the entertainers. Then you have the business owners, who are up in the right corner, and then the investors. So the tax favors the right side, and the left side tends to take the blunt of things. So as you become legitimate in your social proof, and you want to say, hey, I want to take this to market, then you can find an attorney, or you can get advice and maybe make that educated decision on starting your LLC or incorporation for a partnership. And then from there, look at the different asset protection. Look at how it differs to get asset protection. All that means is, remember, assets are things that hold value. So it could be, for instance, if you trademark, like I didn't want to use the Rich Dad Poor Dad cash flow quadrant as trademark, that's an asset because it can make some money as you start to license it out, and that's called intellectual property. So how do you protect those things? Well, you have to find some type of entity, LLC, incorporation, partnership that gives you those protections. And then it comes with a lot of tax deductions that might show themselves prevalent for your situation. And he made mention to, and you might want to double check, tax law just changed, or tax code just changed. I'm not saying you could be wrong, but always good to check. But it may mention of some common ones are your phone and your phone bill, your auto expenses, meals and entertainment, internet, membership dues for professional organization, accounting, if you got to go to an accountant anyway, and education and conferences. So this gentleman is selling a course. If that made sense for your business, it could potentially be a write-off. And a write-off just means a deduction. From what the best way I can explain it is a deduction of your taxable income. So when he said I make 100,000 but I get taxed like I make less than 50, because of the deductions are saying, okay, I can deduct this, deduct this, deduct this, so now you'll only tax me at the 50. But I rounded this up as just saying, the less you know about something, the more fearful you are. And that was Carter Cofield with Rich Jones from Paychecks and Balances. And I definitely enjoyed that. Thank you for the time for the meetup. It's rounding the corner of about an hour and 20 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, go subscribe. I'll make that available. I will always post these videos to YouTube, and they'll be on Twitch, but I believe YouTube and Facebook, I'll comment and also share the show's link, and hopefully any more information that will help you go support that podcast. But if you have a suggestion, let me know. And this would be a weekly or weekday thing, daily, that I will hop on here and we can team up together and build a community full of successful people, because I'm rooting for us all to win. So with that, have a beautiful Monday, and I'll see you in our next session today, which will be our power chat. And then I also have a cool chess time. So if you want to play me in chess, let's get it. I'm ready. I love chess. It's been something that I found during the last few weeks that has just been really cool and awesome. And if I'm not gaming right now, I don't have my Xbox, and even moving forward, I just like kicking it with chess. I think there's a lot of benefits out there to help you, and I'm glad my dad told me to start playing chess. And then later from there, I'll have what it will be known as the today's podcast Meetup Now, and then the homeroom series, where we'll actually be able to just figure out some things and learn a new topic. And that's why I'll probably dive into the Khan Academy or more lesson based. So with that, have a beautiful rest of your Monday. Be sure to look at all the posts and share them if you can. It takes nothing for you to share, and it means the world to me. And if you also aren't subscribed to me on YouTube, go and follow me, subscribe. I'm going in, I'm putting out the live videos, and more importantly, join the Discord. Let's build this community. Let's be helpful, because just hearing me talk isn't going to save the world, but hearing us together talk, that makes a movement. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.